mother, she was going to college. She was going to San Francisco State University. And I had an older sister. She was like 3 years older. She was in a rough neighborhood. And so, I'm a light-skinned dude, a light-skinned kid with green eyes and red hair. It was either, get talked about or do some pushing around. And I just grew up tough. My mother also volunteered for the Black Panther Party. And a funny story, as she was volunteering for the Black Panther Party, I was a fuck up. I was bad. I mean, I had been to every juvenile institution in Northern California, Chabot, Los Cerros, every department, justice. I had been there from Chabot and Los Cerros. I graduated and went to YA number 49259, and I went all around the YAs. And I maxed out. I did my whole YA number. I was only supposed to do a certain amount of time, but I did my whole sentence. Fighting, robbery, selling dope. Because that's how I started off like petty crime, robberies and shit like that. But then when the crack game came, then all that petty shit was gone for me. It was about selling dope. You could get a bag of dope for the low and go straight on seminary and sell every last rock you had all day long. It got so to the point to where seminary was rolling so hard that we would all be out there and everybody would sell dope. Everybody would sell every last rock they had. It would get so cold sometimes. I would fake like somebody stole my dope just so everybody could leave and I can have all the clientele to myself. So it was wild. It was a wild time. I was one of the first dudes to bring cell phones in prison, right? Through the visiting area, right? Funny story. I had a partner. He was getting family visits, right? So we was trying to figure out how to get cell phones in prison, right? So I had seen some type of story about some chicks had got some soap and cut the soap up in like a little powder, and then got the phone and then wrapped up the soap and shaped up the soap to where it's just like a bar of soap, put it in a soap dish and brung it in, right? So I told my partner who was getting family visit about it, right? So what we did for about 2 weeks, we had got the state soap and we was grating it up into fine powder to figure out how we could make it. So it took us 2 weeks to make a little case to where we can put the cell phone up in there and wrap it up with the soap. And we even went so far to put pubic hairs on the motherfucker and put it in the soap dish so they wouldn't even want to fuck with the motherfucker. So he ended up getting the cell phone in. And so we would use it back and forth, right? And because he had conjugal visit, his girl come see him, and he told her what to do on a visit, and she brung it in and through the van, and that's how they got it in. So when he got the phone up in there, we would use it. But as you would know, if it's only one phone, it's just like with one car, it's gonna be an issue. So we had a disagreement, let's just say, about the use of the phone. So I was kind of heated, right? And I wanted to do something other than being diplomatic, and I said to myself, I can't be mad at him. That's his phone. So I went back to my cell and I picked up a newspaper, and a slip fell out of the newspaper, and it was a little phone. It was an advertisement for a little phone, and it was about this big, right? And so it fell on top of my shoe, and I had the Air Force Ones at the time. I was fresh, brand new Air Force One, and I was like, what? And so I got it, and I picked up my shoe, and I put it on the inside of my shoe. I said, okay, the phone can go in this shoe, and the battery can go in the other shoe. All I gotta do is get my son to come up here. I'm visiting. I'm gonna switch shoes with him. I'm gonna have him wearing the same shoes that I wear, and I'm gonna wear the same shoes, and we're gonna switch shoes, and I'm gonna walk this motherfucker back in. So what I did is I went to visiting, and I told my girl, I said, I want you to go find a cobbler, and that's a person who fixes shoes, right? And tell him that you finna be moving, and you wanna hide some of your jewelry, and can you make these measurements? And I don't care how much it costs, I'm gonna pay it, right? And that's what she did. And so next thing you know, she came back and she did the job. I had the cell phone in this shoe, and I had the battery in that shoe. So boom, I get the motherfucker in. While I got the cell phone in there now, I gotta watch everything around me, because now the youngsters, if they act wild, they're gonna come down to my area and fuck up my cell, and they're gonna find my phone. So what I had to do from that moment on is watch everything around me. If somebody owed a Mexican a debt, magically I'm gonna pay that motherfucker, because I would rather for me to pay a debt for $50, $60 than lose all the money that I was making on my phone. By me being in a rap industry and being well known, you know, in the entertainment field, naturally, organically, youngsters that was in the prison was gonna gravitate towards me. So I would go to the yard, I'll be working out and doing things like that, and then, you know, gradually one youngster gonna come walk up to me, and then another, you know, and it's gonna be, you know, that's how it was. On the yards, what I would do is I would hold classes, because a lot of the youngsters would come up to me and they would ask me, like, man, Stone, how do you get into, what about the rap game? And I heard you was hooked up with 3 Times Crazy and the Loonies and all that, man. I heard you was hooked up with Pac and them. Man, tell me about it. So they would want to, you know, spend some time with me and share knowledge. So if one dude come, and eventually be another dude come. So it ended up being a class, right? So I had another dude named Curtis Carroll, and he was a whiz with stocks. So he seen how the youngsters would gravitate towards me, and he said, "Man, let's just hold a class. You do the rap, the hip hop. You teach them hip hop, and I'm gonna teach them stocks, right?" And so from afar, if you're from a guard, if you're in a guard gun tower, and you see, you know, some Africans, African Americans walking together and with books, and then after, you know, they're gathering, you know, to whoever scope of brain or mentality you have, you know, you have different lenses. So, you know, one might take that to be, you know, a gang meeting, you know, and gang materials being, you know, proliferated and things like that. But we was honestly, you know, educating each other. And so what happened was, anytime something violent or anything happened on the yard, the authorities would come and would come jack me up, you know, regardless of if I tried to be somebody of influence or not. It didn't matter if I tried or not, you know, they were gonna come and jack me. And so they would blame me for anything that happened on the yard, good or bad, because, okay, if you didn't do it, you could have prevented it, because that's how they felt. So one thing led to another, something, you know, somebody got stabbed on a yard, and they came to my cell, and they found a book by George Jackson, Blood in My Eye, and another book, Solidaire Brother, and I got a dragon on my back arm, and so they used that to validate me as a gang member, and they put me in a hall, and it wasn't disciplinary, so I couldn't fight it, you know, as I committed a crime. It was administrative. So it was you know, say for instance, if you're a high profile inmate, you know, for your quote unquote for your danger or for the greater good, they could put you in solitary confinement and say it's administrative for your own good, for your own protection. In this case, they put me in a hole and deemed me a member of the Black Gorilla family because they found 2 books by George Jackson, and they found a dragon on my arm, and I had to them de facto influence, the influencer, the de facto influencer of the yard. So I was put in a hole for 5 years. I was in a hole 2.5 years waiting on a bed space because they had put so many inmates in solitary confinement that the cells were full to capacity. So I waited 2.5 years to get from ADSEG, which is a hole, to get to the SHU, which was called the Secured Housing Units, where they house the worst of the worst criminals. Pelican Bay and Corcoran SHU. They had 2. Corcoran was the short quarter, and Pelican Bay was up almost on the Oregon border. So when they validate you as a gang member, you would go to either or, wherever bed space was available. And being in the SHU, you know, typically the only time you got released out of there is if you died or you paroled. You know, no one, when you validated that, they never let you out the SHU. It's a,
you have to debrief.
Oh, you got to debrief. It's indefinite SHU program. Either you snitch, debrief, or you stay in solitary confinement in perpetuity forever. So in my case, they put me in a hole. I didn't debrief, and I just stayed true. While I was in a hole, I wrote 7 books, and one of them was I wrote 7 books in a book of poems called "If My Soul Had Tattoos," and that's what kept me occupied in solitary confinement, because writing became a therapy of sort to me. My gate money went to Corcoran, so I paroled from San Quentin with just the money I had left on my prison account, and that was $16. So I had like $1 for every year I was in prison, and they didn't give a fuck. I couldn't even cash the shit because I had a prison ID. And man, it was like being cracked out of an egg of irrelevancy onto the hot skillet of the earth. And then it just being fried by all the fucking shit that's going on, the technology and the people who you thought they was 16 years ago, they ain't there, so you just adapting, you know, and it was trying, but every day was like a fucking movie to me out, because it was like, oh, you motherfuckers let me out? Is y'all let me out? Oh, okay. So it was like, you know, every day just been like, it's been surreal. And I paroled, I wrote, like I said, I wrote 7 books. Every year I was out, I released a book. My first book I released with Keek the Snake. I attempted to create like a subgenre of hip hop literature. I was the first dude in Oakland to get a hip hop rapper and put him on the cover of my book and cross promote and cross market, you know, both fan bases, and it did good. And so the next year I did the follow up of it, and then the third year I did Warrior, and I did it with artists by the name of Mr. Fab. He's a Grammy-nominated artist, doing good as well. I worked on a couple TV shows, Underworld Incorporated, season 2, episode 2, a Netflix original called Dope. And so I just use like all the things that I could glean from prison that was transferable. I just bring them out here, and I just just try to make the best possible version of myself. I always feel like I read something somewhere said that anything that isn't growing is truly dead. And so I just always try to reinvent myself. I always try to learn. I always try to improve myself. I'm a forever student. And I think what keeps me going is I try to give back. I try to work with people who are my ilk and people who went through the same thing that I went through. And I think that what empowers me is just being able to give back and trying to prevent, people that, to go through the same thing that I went through. The documentary I'm doing right now is called Truth Be Told, The Dark Side of Gentrification. And it's essentially about urban renewal that's going on in Oakland, California, and actually all around the United States. And Oakland, California, and the gentrification that's going on there is just a microcosm of what's going on all around the world. All around the United States, especially in major cities. And what we're doing in that movie there is just posing the question: can there be urban renewal without black removal? Do we have to move all the culture out of the city to renew it? And can we empower the people who were there, the original people of that city, to be better? I mean, we're not saying that we don't want urban renewal, and it's not a finger pointing parade or a pity party. We just want to ask those questions to find some common ground. Can there be urban renewal without black removal?
All right, and then what are you guys in production right now?
Absolutely, we're in production right now. It's going to be on all major streaming platforms and things like that. I'm also COO of All Bay Music Magazine. It's the #1 music magazine in the Bay Area. So I give a lot of energy to the new artists that's coming up and try to help them put their shit out there.